right, guys, we're about to get ready. Let's, if you brought a sign, show us your sign. We're going to take some pictures and some videos. Show us your signs. Facing me. Woo! Yes, love it. All right, we're going to have, Anna, if you want to run through. All right, so keep your signs up. Give us some energy. Woo! My name is Luz Gonzalez and I'll be your MC for the night. So we're going to go ahead and get started. If you don't have a seat, we have seats up here in the front. We have seats right here. We have seats on this side. There is a seat for you if you don't want to stand the entire event. Don't feel shy. We're all community here. Seats, 3 of them right here, 1 right here, 1 right here. Again, raise your hand if you have an empty seat next to you. If you don't want to stand the entire event, there's no reason you should. Okay. Well, welcome and hello. We thought we were going to have to do with Little Crank because he hadn't arrived. Big Crank hadn't arrived. So thankfully, I can put him to the side. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you to also, can you guys believe we had about 600 RSVPs total? Yeah, wow. All in about a week, which is crazy. And so the majority of the people joining us are on Zoom. If we all want to wave hello and say, hi guys. Thank you for joining us. Democracy is not a spectator sport. This quote has been attributed to Lottie E. Scharfman, a refugee who escaped with her family from Austria during World War II and who devoted her life to support and to strengthen the democratic process and to help citizens gain access to government. At this time, more than ever, it is important that all of us, like Lottie, engage, support, and strengthen the democratic process. Woo! You guys are a fun crowd. If you feel the spirit move in you, you can give me a woo, you can give me an amen, you can give me a whatever moves you. Democracy is not a spectator sport, and you showed up today to make it clear that your voice matters. Woo! Our collective voice matters. Hell yeah! And thank you for showing up. Keep doing that. We need your activism. We need your participation. We need you to stand up for yourself and for your community. On March 5th, Rep Crank held a town hall, if we can call it that. I'm going to call it an audio call because that's presentation. It was something along the lines.
Complete with television commercial.
Yeah. During this audio call, Crank said, quote, "It is important that we are open and available to our constituents." I don't know if Crank knows, but it's more important what you do than what you say. And what we have seen is he is unwilling to meet with us, his constituents, in person.
Because we're scary.
We're a little scary, but we're also really lovely humans. During the town hall, I think we noticed that the questions that were chosen were cherry-picked. There were not hard questions or uncomfortable questions. That's not how you engage in conversation with your constituents. For Jeff Crank to have a conversation with his constituents, to engage in two-way communication is non-negotiable. Jeff Frank was invited to tonight's town hall. Unfortunately, he did not respond to various community attempts to reach out to him to attend today. But we are going to let him know that we have questions and we have concerns. We are going to have a respectful event, which if you guys listen in, he thought we couldn't have. He said, they're just gonna shake the cane at me. They're just gonna boo me and take over the show. So we are going to engage in a civic and civil and respectful conversation in which you will be able to share what's on your heart. And I want to speak to what's on your heart and what's on our heart. I know that many of us have felt afraid. We have felt worried, anxious, angry, confused. And I want to let you know that you're not alone in those feelings. These times are times of turmoil and chaos. Our democratic systems are under attack. And it is a time where it's more important than ever to hear from our leadership and to have that leadership engage with us. It's our representative's responsibility to hear his constituents and to represent us all. Amen to that. Since Crank won't hold space for our community in person, we, the community, his constituents, are holding that space. We are here to listen to each other and to address our representative with our questions and with our concerns. I want to reiterate that this is a space for everyone. You are safe here. Whether you vote more progressively or you voted for Crank, you will be respected, you will be listened to in this space. Creating this safe space, that's really his job, but it's okay. We'll do it since he's not willing to step up to the plate. We have a few goals for the event. We hope that you are able to leave feeling more informed, more empowered, maybe, hopefully, more inspired, and more connected. And on to that last point, this is gonna, I know, be a little bit tricky, but I want you to find someone you don't know in this room, and I want you to share your name, share how long you've been in Colorado Springs or in the Pikes Peak region, and then in about 5 words or less, so very quickly, like a minute turnaround, because we have to move through the agenda, share what inspired for you to be here with us tonight. All right, so just one person, both of you go in about a minute, go! Time. I'm going to do a teacher thing. If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. All right, as a 5th grade teacher, that works every time, even if it's with adults. Thank you guys for engaging in that. So hopefully you feel a little bit more connected. So as I said, my name is Luz Gonzalez. I'll be your MC for the evening. And who's this chick? I'm a concerned constituent. I'm a community volunteer. That's it. And after the audio call, I connected with other concerned constituents, and we said, all right, this week, right here this week, it's the congressional recess. And so that means he's back from DC, and this is a prime opportunity for him to be in person with his constituents. And we created the space again. He was invited. And so in about a week, we had to make this happen. And that goes The point of that is we can do important things for each other when we come together and when we have a goal. So I really encourage you to connect with other people in your community, to keep pushing the things that are important to you. Agenda for the night. We are going to hear from a couple of leaders in our community. Then we're going to have a section, again, since Mr. Crank is not able to join us in person, we will hear some of his policies, some of his positions, and the actual reality of the impact of those positions and those policies on our community. So that section is going to be called Speak, Crank, Speak, even though he's not here. And then the pièce de résistance, the most important part of the evening, which is all of you. Hopefully, I know I sent like 1,000 emails. I just wanted to make sure you guys had the right information. So hopefully you guys brought your questions, your concerns, your asks, and that's going to be the point of tonight. You are going to be coming up to the mic, and you are going to speak straight to Crank, and you are going to share what's on your heart. I'll remind you of the format of that a little bit later, but again, that is the most important, and we will go as long as we need to go to make sure that every single one of you is heard. For those of you that are joining us on Zoom, there is a form that you can submit your questions to, and we will make sure that Crank receives those questions, and also engage in the chat. And Katie is crushing it. She is so good at moderating on Zoom, so big hand of applause for Katie. If time allows for it, and if you guys are interested, we will break you up into action committees. And so there are different topics in which you can connect with each other. So again, yes, you're here, you're going to share what's on your heart, but also I think many of us, for me, I'll speak for myself, as all this craziness started happening, I just felt so disempowered. And as soon as I knew what I could do, I felt more empowered. And so especially connecting with other people that think like you, that want to have a more progressive future for our country and for our community, you will be able to have that chance, again, time permitting. So some quick logistics. We are recording this event and will be sent to Congressman Crank. So you guys will all line up here. You will go this way to find your seat again. And Anna, right there, if you guys look back, she's waving her hand. If you want to leave a note for Crank for the socials, we encourage you to go with Anna and to leave us some notes. It'll be just like a fun little social project, and we really encourage you to engage. Let's see. Huge thank you to our venue. This, again, we came together, and in about 24 hours, we're like, okay, can we do this? Can we get a Crank? Can we get a venue? How many people, right? And so this entire thing would not be possible if it wasn't for our venue. So we put our hands together for IBW. And this also would not be possible if it wasn't, this was put together by volunteers. It was just concerned citizens who said, we have to do something. So I want to give a special shout out to Dina, to Colleen, and to Adam. Please put your hands together for our power team. All right, so through logistics. Bathrooms are through that door. You know, they're waving their hands over there. And they will grab you and they'll say like, hey, leave a message for Crank as you're on your way to the bathroom. Be ready for it. And we have coffee and water for you, so please take care of yourselves. Part of the resistance is self-care, so please take care of yourselves while you are here. All right, some quick shout outs. If we miss you, please, Dina, raise your hand. If I miss you as an elected official, you're going to go to Dina and share your information, so then we can give you a shout out later if we don't have you on our list. So here, and also if I share your name, please stand up, wave, and then we're going to do this quite quickly so we can keep the agenda moving. So we have Karen Breslin in the house, who's running for U.S. Senate. If you can raise your hand. So okay. We also have Chauncey Johnson running for City Council District 4. We have Mariah Lauer running for City Council District 3. have John Edgar and Joe Reagan, who are running for Congressional District 5. We have Steph V. Hill running for House District 16. We also have Jeff Livingston running for House District 15. And John Mickes running for State Treasurer. And I don't know if you guys made it, but we heard some of the staffers from our senators were going to be joining. If you're a staffer from our senators, wave your hands around. All right. So maybe they didn't make it. And again, if I missed you, please go find Dina so we can give you a shout out. Also, heads up, this Thursday, Senator Bennett is going to be in town and doing an in-person town hall. And if you go online, you can find that information. All right, all of you got the info sheet that has all of the information that we thought that you needed to know to feel empowered and connected for next steps. So if you guys haven't used the 5 Calls app, like that is the app that will help you connect with your representatives. It'll give you a script. It makes it so easy. So we really encourage you. All that information is there. The numbers for Crank, the numbers for the senators, all the committees, like all the stuff is there. And some highlights. I talked about at the end, if you wanted to participate, there are 10 or 9 subcommittees. So we have democracy, civil rights and human rights, international affairs, voting and elections, immigration and deportations, climate change and the environment, economy, healthcare, local government, and local issues, and potentially education. So, yeah, if you want to participate, if like any of those is especially important to you, you can connect with these committees that are moving progress forward. We have city council elections happening as we speak. You have the ballots at home. Please exercise your right to vote and vote. There will be another town hall with availability for 350 people, not just 200, on May 7th. So if you want to block that off that evening on your calendar. And then for Indivisible Colorado Springs, they have meetings every 4th Thursday of the month in the evening. And it will have space for 1,000 people. So everyone can fit. I know, yes. And so we would love to have you join. All right, so Dina is going to come and introduce our speakers for the night. Again, thank you guys for joining.
Hi everyone, my name's Dina. I hate talking in front of the people, so if I pass out, somebody come rescue me, please. Our first speaker, though, I want to introduce Joe. Joe's a Norwich University graduate who served 2 combat tours of duty in Afghanistan. After serving as an infantry officer in the U.S. Army, Joe transitioned to intelligence, developing a deep understanding of the threats facing our nation, including China's growing influence on the world stage and Russia's aggression towards the former Soviet states. Joe's experience after leaving active duty is vast, including healthcare and technology, and we've invited Joe to speak here tonight about the VA and Medicaid cuts that Rep. Crank just voted to go forward with. So if you guys would help me with a loud applause for Joe. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Dina. Hey, thank you all for being here tonight. This is incredible. The energy in the room is absolutely amazing. And it feels so good to be back with folks that are really dedicated to living our values. For those of you that haven't met me yet, I ran last cycle to represent this district. I'll be running again in 2 years to represent this district because we need leadership that is willing to go to Washington and stand up for us. You know, I'm running because I'm a dad. I have 2 kids that are in the school system here in Colorado Springs. Actually, right now, my son is over doing the first practice of Little League. Very exciting. Spring is here. As we mentioned, I'm a veteran, and I've lived this experience. I've been out there. I've been overseas. I've worked with our allies. I've seen what it takes to make this work, and coming home, I've worked over the past decade to advocate for my fellow veterans in a number of different issues. And let me tell you, it's fallen apart. If you didn't see, and for some of our conservative friends, they often say, well, where are you getting your facts? Well, if you don't know this, the VFW has a very aggressive legislative arm. that will go back and track. And if you saw yesterday, the national commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars got in front of Congress and was asked, what are these cuts going to do to Veterans Affairs? The commander of the VFW sat there, stared right in the eyes of the members of the Armed Forces Committee, and said, it's going to kill us. And that's what happens when we have folks that aren't willing to stand up for doing what is right. But tonight, more importantly, I'm here to talk about the work of the nonprofit sector. Because as we said, a number of the things that are happening in our community, it is our robust nonprofit sector that is out there doing that work. They're the ones that are filling the gaps that are being created by bad policy in Washington. Just last week, I had an opportunity to sit down with other nonprofit leaders across the space. This is not just Veterans Affairs. We're talking housing, homelessness, food insecurity. Every single nonprofit in just 28 days' time has said that we're seeing the amount of need increase and the amount of resource to deliver on those needs decrease. It's going to get bad. And so if you're looking for something to do today, make sure you're getting out there and supporting those nonprofits, because they are the ones that are going to be that stopgap. They are the ones that are going to be out there making sure that those most vulnerable members of our community don't get left behind. Now, we talk a lot about Doge. You know, Donald Trump has said that he wants to eliminate the Department of Education. In fact, he said that a couple of times on the stage with me. Math is a funny thing. You know? It's hard. Now, I went to public school too. If you take Doge at its word, I think, let's give them, just for math's sake, let's take them for their word. I think they said they saved about $1.6 billion. Anyone familiar with the federal budget? $1.6 trillion deficit is what we're operating off of. Mathematically, it is impossible to achieve the budget savings that they need to balance the budget with just those types of cuts. You could fire every federal employee, and you would still only be 35% of the way to balancing the budget. They're coming after Medicare. They're coming after Medicaid. They're coming after Social Security. Yep. And that's just math. And if you were just to put a marginal increase on taxes to the top 1%, which in our community, we're talking less than maybe 2,000 of our neighbors, you could make that surplus up in a year. That's math. That's math. Now, these cuts have real life impact. And I'm going to talk about the veteran stuff in a second here, but look at some of the programs that are being cut. We talk about USAID. These are programs that oftentimes, in fact, I think I was reading something the other day, the USAID cuts cost Kansas farmers over $3 billion in contracts. This is the biggest misnomer when it comes to national security. Foreign aid is not cash to foreign governments. That is money that is being invested here in our community to be able to go and serve overseas, to be able to bring the goodwill of the American people overseas. It saves American lives. When I was in Afghanistan on both tours, we had USAID employees right there with us the whole time, because that was a critical part of what we were doing. Now, on the campaign trail, we talked a lot about the PACT Act. Now this, if you're not familiar with it, one of the largest expansions of healthcare benefits for veterans since really the creation of the GI Bill in the 1940s. Whether you served in Vietnam, whether you were with me in Iraq and Afghanistan, this covered any veteran that was injured as a result of their exposure to toxic substances, like Agent Orange, like the burn pits.
And blue water.
And blue water, exactly. When I advocated this for Doug Lamborn, Doug Lamborn's response, I know. We didn't get any better, folks. We didn't get any better. Doug Lamborn said, where staff said, he wouldn't talk to me. It's too expensive to provide health care to veterans injured as a result of their service to our country.
Exactly.
Exactly, exactly.
This is startling.
It's true. Now, when they said, now, we got some great ideas flowing here. Now, when Republicans came back and voted against this, every Republican in Congress voted against the PACT Act, I'm pretty sure. If not all of them, it was most of them. They said it was because of a budget gimmick that Democrats put into the bill. Anyone want to know what that budget gimmick was? They wanted to put, it's actually, because this is happening right now, because they're doing exactly what they said they were going to do, was they wanted to put that money aside to treat veterans' health care in the same way that you would treat Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, so that we couldn't mess with it, because it was a benefit that was earned by those that served. I can see people behind me start to move around, which tells me that I'm probably pushing the limits of my time. A lot of you feel discouraged. A lot of you feel maybe a bit of hopelessness, tired. The last note I had on my little paper there said immigration. And I'm not going the way you think I'm going with that. About 2 weeks ago, I was having one of those days. I can't even remember what it was. I felt down, tired, exhausted, hopeless. Now, during my 2 tours in Afghanistan, like I said, as an infantry officer, I had an interpreter with me every step of the way. An Afghan national who had volunteered to work for us, and he followed me everywhere that I go. Now, my platoon in Afghanistan, that was not an easy deployment in 2006. And that guy saw just as much combat as I did. And I remember back in 2006, he looked at me and said, "Sir, I want to be an American citizen." And I said, "Wow, that's really cool." And over 16 months in Afghanistan, I sat with him every day, and we got to know each other. So fast forward 19 years later, I'm having that bad day, and I get a photograph. It's my interpreter, standing in front of an ICE facility in Dallas, Texas. No, you were right. Carrying his American flag and certificate of American citizenship. And that turned my day around. And so when you're feeling that way, I want you to remember folks like him. That even though for all of our imperfection, for all the mistakes that we make as a nation, there are still people out there in this world that see this country as the shining city on the hill that we truly are. But it takes effort. As we said, democracy is not a spectator sport. So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for getting involved. Continue to stay active and do not be discouraged. Because in our darkest moments, that's when this country really thrives. We are on the cusp of doing greatness, and it starts with each and every one of you in this room. So thank you. Let's do it.
We have one more speaker for y'all. I don't even have to introduce her. As soon as she comes up here, you guys are going to know exactly who I'm talking about. But let me do a short intro. Steph Behill. She served as Colorado's HD 16 House Rep from 2023 to 2024 and sadly lost by 3 votes. 3 votes, people! 3! I know! Every vote counts. So while in the House, staff passed laws for workers in the app-based gig economy, the first of these kinds of laws in the nation. She sponsored clean energy legislation, expanded access for Coloradans with disabilities, advanced legislation to solve our housing challenges, brought more transit dollars to Colorado Springs, and protected the safety and freedom of the LGBTQ plus communities. This is why we've asked Steph to speak here tonight. She's fought for the very communities Trump and Crank are attacking. Please help me welcome Steph.
They can hear me? I know y'all can hear me. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for the warm introduction. Thank you everyone for gathering today. Again, my name is Steffi Hill. I refer to myself these days as a former and future state representative. Taking a little hiatus due to a statistical tie that put a MAGA Republican into our seat, a district that Kamala Harris carried by almost 52 points, by the way. So we got to get people to vote every election. We can't be messing around with this. So I know a thing or two about serving in a difficult district. This district is a toss-up where I live and where I've served. It is the definition of a competitive district, one of the highest in the state. And I still showed up. There is no excuse. When you serve in public office, one of your obligations is to communicate what you're doing to your constituents. If there's a decision you've made that people don't understand and that's why they're mad about it, then show up and explain yourself. If there's something that that you've done that people just don't like because they don't like it, that's fair. Not everyone, nobody's going into public office with totally unanimous support. We all know that. Some of us with even more oppositional voices than others. And I still held 5 town halls per year, both years that I was in office. Those are ones that I initiated. That's not counting other events where I showed up and I wasn't necessarily warmly welcomed. I'm a union member. I'm staunchly pro-worker. Guess who doesn't? Guess who doesn't fare very well at the Chamber of Commerce? This guy. Not super great, but guess what? Still showed up to all their things, their roundtables, their town halls, their community discussions, because they expected to hear from me, and I still have constituents who support their agenda, and so it makes sense to be there. And if he can't do it, if you can't show up and explain what you're doing, maybe you're not fit for the seat. But I think on top of all that, because listen, I don't have some delusion in my mind that someone like Crank is going to turn all woke and cool and liberal the second he gets into office. We're not expecting that, and honestly, that would actually be quite offensive, right? We don't like that when a Democrat does that. We don't like that when somebody from any party or in a nonpartisan race does that. You run on your platform, you stick to your platform, and you get elected. I don't think that throwing our veterans overboard was on Jeff Crank's platform. Do you guys remember hearing that? I don't remember hearing anything about that. And some of these hacks are going to tell you that they're not cutting services, they're just reducing personnel. That's all, they're just reducing personnel. But they're already short-staffed, amen. But here we are in the House of Labor, so how convenient to bring this up and highlight this for everyone. The workers are the ones who provide the services. That's what the services are. If the VA is laying off your doctor, your therapist, your social worker, any of the support staff that make it possible for them to provide care, then they are cutting your services, period, full stop. Don't let them tell you otherwise. Another thing I don't seem to recall seeing on Jeff Crank's platform that I think should be fairly popular, it certainly seems to be bipartisan or nonpartisan in the state of Colorado, is the fact that he's standing by and twiddling his thumbs while Donald Trump sells off our public lands. Puts them up for sale. In Colorado, of all places, how are you going to represent a Colorado district and not cherish and protect our public lands with every fiber of your being? Because once they're gone, they're gone. If they sell them off, we don't get them back. That's such a popular idea. Do you know there's a resolution going through the Colorado General Assembly right now, passed unanimously out of the Senate, to protect our public lands? That is the definition of a bipartisan issue. If Crank is not going to show up and explain to us why he thinks it's acceptable for Donald Trump to pillage our public lands, maybe he should yield a seat to someone who will. Or better yet, who won't do it at all. There's just nothing patriotic about this. There's nothing patriotic about denying care for our veterans. There's nothing patriotic about giving away our land. And it's certainly not an act of public service to hide from your own constituents. So, what are we going to do about this? Well, yes, we can fire him. So, y'all, we had, I think, a bad habit the last time that Jeff Crank's dear leader, Trump, might have heard of him, the last time he got into office. And I remember an awful lot of people talking about how we were going to, quote unquote, get through the next 4 years. Do y'all remember that? Y'all, this isn't about the next 4 years. This is a critical moment. This is an acute threat. But we have deep-seated injuries, core injuries in this nation that make that kind of politician possible. And it makes it possible for people like Crank to hide from us while they pretend to serve us. And it makes it possible for someone to get into that office twice and threaten to and actively attempt to consolidate power around the presidency and ignore the U.S. Constitution. So we need to think much deeper about how we heal our own core injuries, about how we connect with others, about how we show up in our own communities. I heard mention about the city council election today. I really appreciate that, because you know what we don't have in Colorado Springs? A non-election year, ever. Every year is an election year. We actually have 2 this year. Do y'all know that? Because we've got municipal and then we've got school board this year. You also have primaries to participate in. You have down ballot races. There are ballot initiatives. Anywhere that you have power, if you don't step up and use it, it just goes to somebody else. Human nature abhors a power vacuum. Show up and take it. So I'm just going to encourage everyone, make friends with people here today. I made friends with somebody here today who's not even nowhere near the same part of the political spectrum I am. That doesn't matter. We still have a lot that we have in common here in our community, and we need to work on it together. So buckle up, buckle up. Do not get comfortable with this idea that if you can just survive the next 4 years, then we go back to normal. I don't want the old normal. I have a vision for Colorado Springs that is so much brighter than what we used to put up with around here. Are y'all with me? Thank you so much. Give this guy help.
All right, so now we have our incredible volunteers who, if you guys want to come up. Yay! They're going to help us hear from Crank himself. So they will start, I'll ask you guys if you want to start on this side, what Crank said, and then on this side, our response or the impact of his policies and his positions. So, Colleen, take it away.
Hi. What Crank has said is he loves Doge and fully supports its cutting waste, fraud, and abuse. Reality. Let's start with the obvious problem. Doge is not a recognized government agency, nor does it have any authority to make or enforce policies. The U.S. operates under a system of laws that clearly define how government agencies are created. Contrary to President Trump's belief, agencies like the EPA or the FCC don't just magically appear overnight. They are established by congressional legislation. Doge, in contrast, is a Musk creation. It was put into motion with an executive order. There has been no act of Congress, no legal foundation, and certainly no precedent in supporting its existence.
Remove Musk.
Doge claims it will cut $2 trillion in waste and fraud in the government budget. However, the budget proposal that just moved forward in the Senate will extend Trump's tax cuts for the richest, which will add $5 trillion to the deficit and benefits billionaires like Musk. That is double what Doge wants to cut from the so-called wasteful government spending. What Musk really wants? He wants to cut government agencies that protect us, the average American. Cutting programs that protect you by enforcing workplace laws, environmental protections, and guardrails against financial fraud. And because there is no place to find anywhere close to that true $1 trillion for this to mathematically work out, the only thing they can turn to is cutting Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, which makes up 45% of the federal budget. The fundamental issue isn't the size of the government or the efficiency. It is, who is our government for? Corporations and billionaires, or for the rest of us?
During his audio town hall, Crank said in no uncertain terms, quote, "We are not here to cut benefits," referring to Medicaid and Social Security. He further stated, "These benefits are, quote, not endanger in any way, shape, or form. Mike Johnson said, "Go do a word search of the budget resolution that we passed on Tuesday. There is not one mention of Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security." Reality. The reality is that the House Democratic leader on February 27th said that a Republican budget measure would set in motion the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. While true that if you do a word search, you won't find mention of Medicaid, Medicare, or Social Security, the Republicans' budget tells the House Energy and Commerce Committee, which has jurisdiction over Medicaid, Medicare, and children's health insurance programs, to find $880 billion in cuts over the next decade. A health policy expert at Georgetown University's McCourt School of Public Policy said that these cuts simply cannot be achieved without cutting Medicare. Many of the proposals that are being considered to achieve this $880 billion target involve shifting costs to states, making it harder for states to finance their share of costs of Medicaid. So states are essentially left to make the painful choices in terms of cutting eligibility, cutting benefits, cutting payments to providers like hospitals and nursing homes that serve Medicaid beneficiaries. And in fact, that's one of the reasons it's politically attractive to some federal policymakers, because they're not explicitly cutting Medicaid benefits. They're making state legislatures make those hard choices, doing their dirty work, and making the painful choices that they'll have no choice to make in light of these potential massive cost shifts. Medicaid serves 1 in 5 Americans. These cuts would take away health care from people who need it most, including older adults, people with disabilities, and children who get their health insurance from Medicaid to support them in their homes and their communities. No one with Medicaid is safe from these cuts.
All right. Crink said, "We have to defend and protect our veterans, and I intend to make sure that we take care of our veterans." Let's talk about that. So the truth is, there are an estimated 90,000 veterans who live in Colorado Springs. That's about 17% of the population. And regardless of Crink's lofty rhetoric, the Department of Veterans Affairs is planning to cut 83,000 jobs. That's 83,000 people who are taking care of the millions of veterans. More than 25% of the VA's workforce is comprised of veterans. So that means 20,000 plus veterans will lose their job of taking care of other veterans. For context, guys, there's about 200 people in this room, so times this room by 100. That's how many veterans stand to lose their jobs. On top of that, nearly 30% of federal workers are veterans, half of whom are disabled. And it's estimated that so far, just up till now, of the 38,000 federal employees fired in the first 5 weeks of the Trump administration, 6,000 are veterans. So these cuts are coming at a time when veterans' healthcare needs are increasing. The VA enrolled 400,000 veterans in its benefit system just last year, which is actually 30% more than the prior year. So demand for care is going up, availability is going down. Doesn't really sound like that's taking care of the veterans, does it? No. So the Republican plan prioritizes private sector profits over veterans' care. It's balancing the budget on the back of those who served. So it's a shameful betrayal, and veterans are going to pay the price for their corruption and incompetence. So do we really trust Crank when he says he's going to protect our nation's bravest? No. Good answer. What he might not understand is that being pro-military doesn't mean just spending more on planes and ships and missiles. It is great to give them the best equipment while they serve, but how we take care of our veterans in the years and decades after they retire says more than anything about how much we value our military men and women. And so far, Jeff Crank's actions on this issue have not aligned with his words.
Hi everyone, My name is Amanda, and I'm a school psychologist here in the district, or in the Colorado Springs. So when asked about how he felt about the cuts to the Department of Education, Jeff Frank said, well, it has to come from somewhere. So, yeah, I'll move. The rest of it's over here. So as a school psychologist, I know how impactful it can be to have the right funding for kids, especially kids who are disadvantaged, disabled, or who need extra support in schools. That's why I think that Jeff is probably just misinformed about what the Department of Education does. So I'm here to correct that. So his support for eliminating the Department of Education is not just short-sighted, it's heartless. He seems to view education as just another budget line to cut, but he aligns himself with Trump and Musk's reckless dismantling of essential government functions. I can only hope that this might change his mind. The Department of Education is responsible for Title I funding, which directly supports our most vulnerable students. These funds provide resources for schools in low-income districts, ensuring that children have access to free and reduced lunches, sometimes the only solid meal they have in a day. Title I also allows districts to hire specialists to help students struggling with academics, giving them a chance to catch up and be successful. But beyond funding, the Department of Education plays another critical role: accountability. This may be why Jeff Frank and the GOP want it gone. The department enforces federal laws that protect students from discrimination based on age, sex, race, and disability. It provides parents with legal avenues when their children are denied the education they're entitled to. The GOP loves to call itself the Parental Rights Party, yet they're actively working to take away parental educational rights. The Department of Education also helps make higher education attainable to low-income students through grants and low-interest loans. It currently manages $1.7 trillion in student debt, affecting nearly 45 million Americans. Yet Trump and his allies, including Jeff Frank, have offered no real plan for addressing this crisis, only obstruction of efforts to ease the burden. As Trump and his administration attempt to dismantle this vital department from the inside out, Jeff Frank has not only stood by, but actively supported this destructive agenda. So I ask you, Jeff, will you stand up for the most vulnerable among us, or will you continue to turn your back on the children who need you the most?
To sum it up, Crank continues to make disturbing statements and to breeze over legitimate constituent concerns. We expect better of our representatives. At the end of the day, this administration and the representative that are here to support the interests of Musk, Trump, and the billionaires. We're seeing policies that mean higher costs. Oh yeah. Less help from families. More tax windfalls for the wealthy. A betrayal of President Trump's campaign promises to protect families who struggle financially.
Out of curiosity, can we have veterans and family members of veterans raise your hand in the room? Yeah. Thank you for your service. Thank you for being an important part of our community. If you are an educator, raise your hand, or in the education system. Thank you. Thank you again. If you are part of the medical system and support in that way. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the work that you do. All right. Huh?
Also active duty.
Active duty. Yes. All right, so we are at the most important part of the night, which is hearing from all of you. Woo! Yes. So for our online attendees, again, a link was emailed to you multiple times, and Katie will also be sharing that in the chat. So you will be able to engage. Please share in the chat, but please make sure that your comments get into the form. For those of us that are here, please go ahead. If you have your questions or your concerns, you can start lining up. What I'm going to ask that you do is clearly state your name. If you can skip your last name, you can share your full name, whatever you feel comfortable with. Please share your zip code so we know that you are a constituent. And then you're going to share, hopefully in about 60 to 90 seconds, your question, concern, and or ask. And so quick reminders again, 60 to 90 seconds. Let's be respectful. I know a lot of you have agree, disagree. That's a really great, respectful way to maybe disagree with someone who has a question or comment that is not aligned with yours. And after you share, so you guys are gonna line up here, and then you're gonna come around and go back to your seat. Again, we encourage you to go to the room by the bathroom to leave us a social media note that we can use to repurpose. All right, so any questions about the format or how to do this part, the most important part of the evening, which is hearing from you? No? All right, let's line up, and you will go ahead and state your name, your question, your ask, and your zip code.
Hi, my name's Kathy Sickler. I thought I'd start with a quote from Liz Cheney's 2023 book, Oath and Honor, a Memoir and a Warning. Like other aspiring autocrats, Donald Trump cannot succeed alone. He depends upon enablers and collaborators. Every American should understand what his enablers in Congress, in the leadership of the Republican Party, were willing to do to help Trump seize power in the months after he lost the 2020 election, and what they continue to do to this day. So strong is the lure of power that men and women who had once seemed reasonable and responsible were suddenly willing to violate their oath to the Constitution out of political expediency and loyalty to Donald Trump.
My name is Elaine, and I am an angry old woman. And I'm sure there's some angry men here too. I only had several questions that I wanted to ask Crank. I tried contacting his office in here and in DC, and I posted questions on his website. They were real simple questions, yes or no. First question was, do you realize that your salary of $174,000 a year is paid by all of us? No matter what party we belong to. Question 2. Do you even know a veteran? Do you know a veteran that needs his or her benefits and the medical services that they depend on? 2 or 3. This is 3, right? Okay. 3. Do you even know an elderly person on Social Security and Medicare that depends on these services that we paid for, that you're trying to take away from us? Do you even know anybody like that? Do you, okay, this is 4. Sorry. Do you even know anyone that depends on Medicaid? A child that only gets his health care, his or her health care, through Medicaid. I have a daughter-in-law that has an inoperable brain tumor. And she also has a wasting disease that turns her insides to crystal. And she has serious back problems. She gets her health care from Medicaid. And I'm sure everybody here knows a child or somebody that needs it. Last one, I promise.
We like you.
Do you know anybody that is on SNAP? Have you ever stood behind someone in line that was trying to figure out, do they have enough in their SNAP account to pay for groceries? I have, and I have been lucky enough to be able to help them pay for it. I'm sorry, I have one more. I want to know, Jeff, if you have a heart, if you have a soul, if you have compassion, or are you just a flat piece of paper?
Hello, my name is Stephanie Kahn, 80904 is my zip code. I am the granddaughter of a World War II hero who sacrificed his life killing Nazis. We even had an army base named after him in Schweinfurt, Germany called Townhall. It was fully functioning base until 2014. Out of respect to the thousands of Americans who gave their lives fighting fascism, I want to ask Representative Crank if he will speak out against vile acts such as Elon Musk having the audacity to throw a Nazi salute at the presidential inauguration. Regardless of the mental gymnastics done to downplay this action, it was not autism, it was not a joke, and it was not him sending us his love. The similarities between the Third Reich and the Trump regime is unsettling, and stunts like Heil Hitler salutes aren't helping. How do you respond to these concerns? Will you denounce fascism and support America's long-standing bipartisan democracy?
I'm Scott Flora. I'm too tall. I'm Scott Flora, and I'm a Colorado Springs resident. I'm a veteran. I'm a parent and husband and business owner. And I can remember my zip code. 80904. Thank you. I'm a veteran, and lots have been said about veterans, so I thought I'd talk about my experience. In 2018, I was just diagnosed with prostate cancer. Some people, friends said, well, that's a good cancer, but it's not. And a lot of people die from it. I'm here, I'm still standing. The VA was great. I got my health care through the VA, and I guess my only point about the VA is the people are great and the systems are messed up. And I see a lot of nods from family and veterans. And so these cuts, a good point was that the people provide the services, and that's for sure. But also, a lot of this money is going to come from possible upgrades to the systems to communicate with the vast array of organizations that work within the VA. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. I'm with zip code 80910. It is low, isn't it? Hi, my name is Jennifer. I live in 80910. Me too. I am actually a social worker and have been for 15 years with our troops. It is my understanding that there are over 21,000 civilian federal employees in our district here in Colorado Springs. My question, pretty quick, but just want to know, what are you doing to protect the laws that govern the hiring and firing of these employees? And what are your plans to help the Colorado Springs area if a significant number are legal.
Name, zip code, question, 60 to 90.
Can't hear you.
So this is, I'm going to address this to Representative Crank. My name's Dave Coster and I live in 80917. I'm a veteran and a retired civil servant. As a lifelong public servant of the United States, I was proud to repeat my oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States. Every time. You swore the same oath, Representative, with your hand on a Bible on the 3rd of January of this year. I'm here now because of that oath, against my normal nature. As you well know, the executive branch is currently in criminal violation of numerous U.S. statutes and court orders. Its actions are flagrantly unconstitutional and treasonous. You are derelict of your duty and have broken your oath by not taking action to uphold the Constitution. You have failed at the most important job of any American citizen. So my question to you is, when do you plan to fulfill your God-sworn oath and take action in your capacity of a member of Congress to impeach and prosecute these criminals?
My name is Bear Wilson. I live in 80919. I'm a veteran of the United States Army for almost 10 years. During that time, I served as a military policeman. So I have double check marks. Not only a veteran, but a first responder as well. So right after Trump took office, one of the first things he did was to release 1,500 insurrectionists. Many of them beat and beat and beat again Capitol Police officers, some of whom died, but yet Trump released them. So what I did is I called Crank's office to, like many angry Americans, and complained. And I was told thank you, which was not acceptable. So I went back with a handwritten letter, told thank you. I wrote an email, and I got a thank you email back that didn't really address it. So I've kind of held this grudge for a while. It's one of those grudges that burns a little bit. So as time goes by, I do follow Crank on social media. And I see that spineless cardboard cutout. He loves to take photo ops with first responders and military people in uniform. He loves to do that. Loves to. But I have news for Congressman Crank. Those aren't props. Those are people that serve this community, serve this country.
And protect him.
Yeah, and protect him. So my comment to Congressman Crank, and I don't say Representative Crank because he doesn't represent Jack. But my comment to the congressman is, how in the hell can he walk through those hallowed halls of Congress and look at those Capitol Police officers in the eye as he passes them by, many of whom took a beating for his right to do that? How can he look at them without having some sort of remorse? All I asked from him from the very beginning, he sent me a note. He says, look, the president has prerogative. Yep, the president has prerogative. Congress can't change it. Yep, I passed civics. I get all that. I passed my civics in high school. I get that. All I wanted from Congressman Crank was a public statement to condemn the release of those insurrectionists. So all we've gotten is crickets. So whether it's on a microphone being videoed, or if I ever had the opportunity to look him in the eye and tell him he's a hypocrite and a fake.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Deb Griffin, and I'm a cardiology nurse practitioner in zip code 80924. And I'm going to talk to Jeff here. As a healthcare provider for 30 plus years, in our practice, we have a large population of patients on Medicare and Medicaid. I'm very concerned about the House Republican budget resolution and the impact it will have on this vulnerable population. Dr. Oz, he skillfully dodged all the questions when he was asked about using what is going on with that and about the uncertainty of the budget, and that's an unacceptable excuse. How will you, Jeff, ensure, as our representative or congressman, thank you, Bear, ensure the right to the health care on all of our Medicare and Medicaid people that are in your district?
Hello, how you doing? I'm John Jarrell, 80910, and I'm a proud union member. We actually meet here, the AFL-CIO affiliates, and I'm also the chair of the El Paso County Democratic Party. So thanks everyone. Everyone voted for me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I will say, if you were here because you're mad that you didn't have the opportunity to tell Crank how much you like his policies, I'm not the guy to talk to. If you do want to talk about what we can do to stop his policies in El Paso County, come talk to me in a little bit. And my question to Crank is, how are you feeling about your chances right now of holding this seat?
My name is Amber, and I live in zip code 80905. My name is Amber, and I live in zip code 80905. I'm going to look up like this. So Congressman Crank is a member of the House Armed Services Committee, and specifically on the subcommittee on military personnel. So the president in January signed an executive order called the Prioritizing Military Excellence and Readiness, where it lists suicidality as a mental health condition that is incompatible with military service. So Representative Crank, being a member of the Subcommittee on Military Personnel, I just want to know what he plans to do to advocate for military members who may be in crisis and need to seek mental health care, which is already so stigmatized. And now, because of this executive order, they may be risking their careers and seeking that help that they desperately need.
Hi everybody, my name is Max. I'm living in 80919. As a registered dietitian in a large-scale institutional food service, I'm directly responsible for ensuring that over 40,000 patients, children, and inmates are fed 2 to 3 meals a day in our hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and prisons all over the western region of the U.S. And what I'm seeing transpire on the front lines of our nation's food production is irresponsible and unethical. The administration's actions, seemingly without even a concept of a plan, have exacerbated nationwide issues in the food supply chain. The directive to deport everyone, which you support, Congressman Crank, has led to widespread staffing issues on farms and processing plants, where workers are afraid to show up to work under threat of being rounded up. Restaurants and warehouses are facing the same issue. The bird flu, only getting worse. My vendors and producers are telling everybody to anticipate between 25 to 50% increase in egg and poultry prices over the next few months. On top of that, tariffs against our largest trade partners are only going to further increase prices at a time when the domestic workforce dwindles, and we are far from ready to support the demand for increased domestic production. So, my question for you, Congressman Crank, what steps are you going to take locally and nationally to rectify these issues and ensure that your constituents are not falling into poverty, just trying to feed themselves and their family? The skyrocketing costs and increased scarcity of all food affects you and literally every single one of us and everybody in this country. There are those of us locally who are actually experts, not AI, not Doge, not worm-brained RFK. But actual tangible members of your local community. Help us, help you. Together we feast, hungry, you fall.
Well, I'm the shorty of the group, I can tell. Hi, everybody, I'm Nancy. I have been a nurse for 45 years. I have too many concerns to even begin to tell you what my biggest concern is. By the way, my zip code is 80863. However, I am a constituent of Colorado, and more importantly, I am a voter of USA of America. I have been here in this community for 30 years, and I have seen a lot of good. Currently, I am working for a nonprofit. That nonprofit just within 2 weeks lost 25% of its funding. I am a senior advocate. I am here to tell you that 10% of all of our nation's elderly are living in poverty. Without Medicaid and SNAP benefits, they would be out the door right now. They would have no place to go, and they would not be able to eat any more than 1 or maybe 2 meals a week. Think about that. You talk about the eggs, that's what they survive on. I'm sorry that they're $12.99 a dozen. Now they're down. But I'm telling you the truth, that's their protein. And they are taking that egg and they are cutting it in half to have it for the next meal. We are starving our elderly people. We should not be doing that. But I have a more fundamental question that I'd like to ask, and that's simple. Mr. Crank, how do you feel about the president disregarding federal level judges' orders? And with that being said, I have a question for you. How come we feel, or you, Mr. Crank, feel that the president has the power and has the ability to write laws and to ignore those laws? And more importantly, how do you feel about him breaking the law?
Hello. As you can tell, I'm such a great public speaker. My name is Dan, and like my mother before me, I am actually a resident of 80863 Woodland Park. I do, however, have 2 friends down here who are residents of 80909. They are parts of the LGBTQ community. One of them is trans, the other is gay. Recently in Idaho, if none of you have noticed, their own legislation has put forward a resolution to demand that the SCOTUS overview, I believe it's called Oberfell, which pretty much gave gay rights marriage. My question is, how are you going to protect that when in your own campaigns you stated that you believe it was a done deal? Kind of rings similar to how, Roe v. Wade was a done deal. So how are you going to stand by that to the point where when you said that in your campaign trail, even certain religious groups accused you of pushing the homosexual agenda? Additionally, a question for myself. You voted to censure Representative Al Green when he spoke out against Donald Trump. He was one of every Republican who voted to censure him. And you also cheered with fellow Republicans as Mike Johnson ordered him to be removed from the chambers. My question on that is, would you support a retroactive censorship of Representatives Marjorie Taylor Greene and additionally of our own state Representative Lauren Boebert for doing the exact same during Biden's tenure? Do you support free speech or only support it if it is what your party agrees with? And finally, I hope this doesn't ruffle feathers, for not only Representative Jeff Crank, for all representatives, Democratic, Independent, unaffiliated, for all people in this room who may be watching, what are you doing to prevent the radicalization that has been allowed to permeate, pervade, and pervade our nation? Are you being complicit in this radicalization by ignoring facts, by ignoring data that disagrees with you? Are you only voting along party lines or lesser of two evils because you have to? Are you being complicit by allowing 10 or few of our own representatives, Democrats, who voted with Jeff Crank to censure Al Green? Are you being complicit by allowing 8 of our own Democratic senators to vote for cloture of a spending bill, then immediately voted against that spending bill for optics, obviously? Are you voting against our First Amendment rights by banning a social media app that you accuse of being Chinese spyware for only so you can secure funding to not only support our allies of Ukraine, but also for a nation that has been actively committing genocide since 1948? Are you blaming LGBTQ plus or minority groups who make up less than 19% of the population for the issues that are caused by those in power? We as a people cannot oppose any party that disagrees with us without also holding our own parties to similar standards. To all representatives, do what's truly right. Quit hiding in cowardice behind your party. Stand up for what is right, even if it might mean going against what your party is. To Republican representatives especially, stop hiding behind fascist ideals designed or disguised as patriotism. Thank you.
Hi, Jeff. How's it going? So, I'm Steph, 80918, and I think Jeff might be familiar with my daily emails. He doesn't. I'm kind of a little bit sick of getting the form letters in response that are vaguely related to the issue that I'm talking about. Maybe it's got a word in common somewhere, but it fails to address the points that I raise. Now, you might have guessed that I'm not originally from around here. I became an American citizen last year, specifically because I'm scared. I wanted to be able to vote against Trump. I felt that I needed to be able to have a voice. And until this last election, I was perfectly content being a green card holder, paying $250 every few years to renew my green card, having to update USCIS on all of my movements, any change of address within 30 days, having to carry that card on my person at all times because being without it is a misdemeanor. I don't think that Jeff really understands what is involved in the immigration process. I don't think he really understands that there are so many people that are perfectly happy to pay into programs that they can never withdraw any money from. I paid into Social Security for 8 years as a non-citizen. As a non-citizen, I would not be able to claim any of that. And I was content with that situation because I believe in it. And everything that he has said, the form letters saying that he supports Doge's work in weeding out fraud. I feel like he doesn't really understand exactly what's going on there. I would welcome his explanation. But my biggest question to you, Jeff, is if there's so much fraud that's being discovered and there is so much good work that's happening, where are the charges?
Brenda from 80923. What are you willing to do to ensure that people, all people, including those from other nations, are treated legally and humanely? Yes. And my ask is an answer to Indivisible Colorado, listing safeguards for humane and legal treatment for people.
I'm Scott Brassfield, and I've been a family practice doc here forever. Okay, been around forever here, and 80905. And Jeff's been getting so much shit, I kind of feel sorry for him. I know. Now I'm getting briefed too. But I'm offering something that'll be really fun. Here's what I did last Saturday at 10 o'clock with the gal right behind me. And we had a blast. And what we did was we had a little gathering in front of the Tesla dealership. You'd be surprised how many people that drove past gave us great support. We got some middle fingers. We got a guy complaining about the fact that somebody threw a rock through his windshield. None of us. We stayed in legal territory. And we had lots of honks, lots of thumbs up, and we even had a new car, 18-wheeler, go by and give us a blast from his horn. So, this is our chance to do something about oligarchy, the big problem that Bernie's been bringing up. We can make a step in that direction by reducing the net worth of the world's quote-unquote richest man. I'm not sure he still is. But we're off to a head start. The stock market's been a big help. It was rated $460 on December the 17th, and I think it was like 240 or something, roughly half. Today, so it's really gone down. So he's not richest by as big a margin, and we want to decrease the margin and maybe get him down to number 2. So come out in front of Tesla and protest 10 o'clock this Saturday. We'll have a lot of fun.
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me? Yes. My name's Teresa McKay. And my original ask has changed. Oh, I'm going to still do it. Okay. But there is a little bit of a change. Oh, my zip code's 80909. So, March 28th, there was supposed to be a gala bash with Steve Bannon at the Antlers. Yeah, did you hear about that? Okay. I know. So today I called the Antlers. They canceled. They told me they canceled. I hope that's true. I asked to talk to management because the young man, nice on the phone. Well, I don't know if he's a young man. The man on the phone, nice, said it was canceled. He had just heard about it 35 minutes before. But he'd send me to management just in case, because there's undergrounds downtown. I'm a native. I know this area. That's more high school days. Anyhow, Not my nursing days, thank God. Anyhow, so I asked, are you guys gonna try and bring him in through some backward area? Are you gonna still try and do this gala? I didn't get an answer, but hopefully it is canceled. But the reason I was asking Crank about this is I wanna know, do you represent, do you condone, do you align yourself with this Nazi rhetoric? Yeah. And I don't like it. We don't like it, and we don't agree with it. So, Representative Crank, what are you going to tell your children? And Representative Crank, what are you going to tell your grandchildren? And your great, and your great, and your great grandchildren? Because every day I'm with my grandchild, I think about what the future is for my grandchild. So I want your answer. Oh, by the way, I know I'm going over time. I'm done, pretty close. Every time I call that office, I am so disappointed. The workers talk just like Crank. And they're very rude. They like to tell me I'm rude because I asked them to please repeat my 5 calls to make sure we got it all. Anyhow, Representative Crank, what are you going to do? How are you going to stand? How are you going to stand for this nation and for your children and for all of us? Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean. I live in 80920, and I've been doing a lot of reading recently, a little document you may have heard of called the Constitution. I've also done a lot of reading on oaths of office, and I actually repeated this back to Jeff in one of his emails, or one of my emails to him. And both the President's oath of office and the Congressman's oath of office state that they will enact the Constitution and that the laws be faithfully executed. In just the recent days, this isn't even counting like the last, 40 days? In recent days, the Trump administration has ignored the orders of judges and is now attempting, as of this morning, to unpardon people. So it's a very simple, very straightforward question. I would like to know if Representative Crank supports the administration in these actions. And on the last note, I plan to tell my grandchildren that I stood up and fought when it mattered.
And just a note, the zip code is, you guys have probably heard, they think that we're paid actors. I think Jeff Crank said that Indivisible is a terrorist organization. So that's why I'm like, zip code, so they know that we're not paid actors and that we are constituents. So that's my little plug for zip code. Good job,
Hi, everybody. My name is Celeste. I am from 80907 zip code. I'd like to talk about the subject of natural resources and wildfire management. Our public lands are a treasure for all of us to enjoy. 36% of our state is public lands. Thousands of U.S. Forest, Bureau of Land Management, and National Park employees who care for these lands were illegally fired. This happens at a critical time when wildfire mitigation needs to be addressed. Instead, the President has issued stop work orders to remove hazardous natural materials, as well as cutting federal funds to do this work. In addition, Crank, you support legislation that would open the door for more logging operations, expand oil and gas, while getting rid of environmental protections and endangered species. This type of approach to timber harvesting and oil and gas could actually increase our wildfire risk. Diminishing the quality of our public lands hurts people, wildlife, our state and local economy. How do you justify supporting these actions that will undoubtedly hurt our public lands, affect air and water quality, and put our Colorado communities at risk. Because raking the forest ain't gonna cut it.
Hi everyone, my name is Roy Matthewson. I live in 80910, and I'm here because it's the cruelty that offends me. I'm so disappointed in my family and friends who have voted for Mr. Crank, Mr. Trump, and the Republican Party is made up of good people. The Republican Party is made up of good people who have been lied to. And they believe the lies. So, for that reason, because of the cruelty, because of my frustration with my family, my friends, those people who I love, who've supported me my whole life, who claim to be Christians, I have decided that I'm also running for Congress. But not as a Democrat, not as a Republican. I'll be running as an independent. The last election, I can't remember if I voted for Joe or River during the primary. I know that I voted for River during the general. But my fear, my concern is Democrats are outnumbered in this district by like a 5-to-3 ratio. I don't see a way that the Democrats move past that 50,000 vote total. We have to find a middle ground. It's the middle.
Past the two-party system.
It's the middle that has always held our country together. It's the middle that holds us together. If we vilify and call stupid all of those people who have voted for Trump, do you think they're going to come to the Democrats? They're not stupid. They've been lied to. So, ladies and gentlemen, while I am finishing up, I just want you to know, if you think River's the best, great, vote for River. If you think Joe's the best, great, vote for Joe. If you think we need a third way, vote for me. Be independent and vote independent. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lindsay. I live in 80922. Hey, I thought I might be alone. I'm also the secretary of the El Paso County Democratic Party. So if you can't catch John and want to get involved with the party, please have a chat with me. I'm also a fierce public education advocate, and I'm the vice president of Neighbors for Education. So if you are concerned about the Christian nationalist takeover of our school boards, please talk to me about that. We have critical elections all over the region in November, and we need your help because dark money is coming in, the churches are getting organized, and they outnumber us if we don't get engaged. All of that is unrelated to what I actually want to talk about. I wasn't going to speak tonight, so I'll apologize if I'm a little bit scattered, but y'all have me fired up, and I felt compelled to speak because I'm also a military spouse. My family has lived here for 5 years. My husband is an active duty service member, and while I love and appreciate all the love that has been given to vets tonight, what we have talked about much less are active duty folks, and they're the ones directly at risk today. And as we watch this administration, rubber stamped by this guy, destabilize our relationships with our allies, align us with dictators around the world, you can imagine what a family like mine is going through. And so I don't have a choice but to stand up. I don't have a choice but to get engaged and bring everyone along with me. And so please continue to come to these events. Please continue to get involved in whatever way you can. Please build community, because that's the only way we get through this. And there is a lane for everyone. None of us can do everything, but all of us can do something. So please, please, please find it. Find your lane. Mine's public education, and I'm going to stay there. And the other thing I have to speak on is what this administration is doing to trans troops is unconscionable. Our family this week saw a 15-year trans troop kicked out of the military only because of who they are. A dedicated service member, an expert in their field. You can't just pluck them off the street. And as a result, they want to talk about readiness. That's a readiness issue. Talk to any service member. They will tell you it's a readiness issue to kick folks out of our military at a time when we cannot recruit more people to the military. So please, I couldn't let that issue go by. And I think that's all. What are you going to do about it?
Can you guys hear me? Thank you. Hello, my name's Chauncey Johnson. I'm from the live in the 80910 area. Also running for District 4, so if you live in that area, we'd love your vote. Most importantly, though, for me, I have two questions for Jeff Crank, because I think this is an opportunity. I know that we shellacked a little bit, well, not us, but the Senate shellacked a little bit on getting our backs. But we have an opportunity, two more opportunities, so I have two more questions for Jeff Crank, and that would be one, we talk a lot about, or I would say your party loves to talk a lot about how you guys like to be smart with your money. And so I would ask, are you guys going to allow America to default on their own debt and then allow us to spiral down to control when half these people can't even survive off what they're getting right now? And then also, too, I would like to ask, this whole entire Trump tax cut thing that's coming up, I think we need to be very clear about what it's doing, what it's happening. If he's trying to tell you, and you are allowing it and capitulating to it and saying that if you make $150,000, we're going to cut your taxes, you won't have to pay income taxes anymore. But what we don't tell people, and what people don't really know, and what we're not telling people, what you're not telling people, is that that money that people pay in goes into Social Security, goes into Medicaid. So are you going to allow the whole entire Congress and yourself to be capitulant with Donald Trump to cut off Medicaid and Social Security and do tax cuts that will completely just destroy Medicaid and Social Security without actually doing it through Congress, which that was actually appropriated through?
Hello everybody, my name is Jeff Livingston. I live in 80925. So I had a couple of things that I wanted to say up here. First thing is I am running for State House District 15. And as a Jeff, speaking to another Jeff, I feel like I have a little bit of authority in this matter when I say that Jeffs are getting a real bad name right now thanks to this guy. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I deeply appreciate everybody here because I see like the energy and the enthusiasm is just, it's fantastic. I just want to, you guys are amazing. So, yeah, so my question is, how does a representative, somebody who's supposed to make the world a better place by making it better for us, do the things that he is doing and make it sound like he's trying to stand up for somebody that's not himself? I don't understand that concept. So if he could explain that to me, that would be fantastic. Yeah, that was my question. I am basically in agreement there. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get down from here. But thank you guys so much for being here, for your time. Yeah. Let this guy know how you feel by voting him out.
Stand on my tippy toes. I just wonder, military spouses out there, I keep getting letters from Congressman Crank in response to my emails, and he tells me that he's still setting up his office. How long does it take a military spouse to set up a household? I have family members. I have a green card family member. I have an LGBTQ family member, and I'm married to a vet. And I want to know, what are you going to do, Congressman Crank, to help preserve the rights of my green card holder family member, my LGBTQ family member, I probably messed up the initials, sorry, and finally, my husband, a vet who's disabled and has had a terrible time getting into the VA here, or anywhere. San Antonio's the worst, though, I have to tell you. Anyway, and stop sending me the things about your I'll be glad to help you set up your office. Kathleen Kelly, 80132.
All right. Hello, Jeff. I thought you'd be bigger. My first question is, where are you? Did you think this crowd would be too cranky? Well, you're wrong. They're angry, but they're polite, and they want it, and they deserve to speak to you. The first time I met Jeff Crank, he was washing his hands in the bathroom. That's the closest I've ever seen him to believing in science. He washed his hands. I live in 80905. Amber, the Tesla protester, there's been a few others. So that's the Ivywell neighborhood, for those of you don't know. I'm John Edgar, and I'm a past CD5 candidate. I am not currently a CD5 candidate. I ran with Joe. Joe's a great guy. River was a great candidate. And we had Adam was here somewhere. So we had 4 or 5 actually good candidates, all of which would have been better than Crank. I want to just say, about 4.5 months ago, I was in this room, and it was dark, and it started snowing, and the TVs were all around this building, and it got to be a pretty sad night. I'm not going to lie to you. We're worse off now than we were 4.5 months ago, but there's better energy in this room right now. So that inspires me, and it should inspire all of you. Here's what Jeff Crank and Donald Trump want. They want to destroy our government. They want you to stop paying attention. We need to make sure they fail on both of those. Who gets health care through the VA? Raise your hand. Thank you for your service. Who gets their health care through Medicare? Wow. I get my health care through the private market, and I pay $1,644 a month for it, and I hate it. You should be scared about losing your access to the VA and Medicare. My mother depends on Social Security and Medicare. I send my son to a Title I public school. And our family makes some of our best memories in the public lands that surround this area, and we can't let them get rid of any of it. So my next question, and I'll end here. When will you show up?
Crank's a little cranky. He definitely is, and he makes me incredibly cranky. I'm Liz Rosenbaum. I live in rural Fountain, 80817. Y'all know who I am. You know I'm not freaking paid. Could you imagine how much money I'd have right now if somebody paid me for my activism? Organizing with my community is my passion. In the Fountain Valley community, I organized with everybody who had a passion for clean and safe drinking water. I finally got Wigwam Water District filters to take out deadly, cancerous causing PFAS chemicals. From the first bill we did with Representative, now Senator Exum, and our Democrat state elected officials. The first bill from 2019 is giving my small community $400,000 to have clean and safe drinking water. I went to Michigan when you were busy doing your cranky shit. And I'm part of a national PFAS organizer coalition. We had a 200-person conference. I demanded the EPA to respond and fulfill the requirements that we had to filter our drinking water with a very complex system. And I asked the EPA to do it. You know what they said? Yes, because who tells Liz Rosenbaum no? We got our EPA grant, but your boss freaking canceled it. So I'm cranky. State of Colorado, boo, right? State of Colorado is coming in clutch until I can fix it. So you want to spend your money really well? We do, right? Keen Footwear stepped in, gave me and my coalition leaders across the United States $30,000 so we can go to Chicago and prevent your chaos from getting worse. There you go. I'm going to get my EPA grant back. Mic drop.
I'm not speaking to him right now. My name is Shonda. I'm from 80908. We had the angry old woman earlier. This is the angry young woman. I grew up in a Republican Christian household, and my stepsister grew up in a Democratic household, and I remember thinking when I was younger that I just wanted to be a good person like her. I didn't care about the religion, and I have my own beliefs, but what this guy, what Trump, what Elon is doing is not part of my belief system. I have a 2-year-old daughter. My grandmother has MS, and she's on Medicaid. I have many veterans in my family. I myself work for the government, DOD, DHA, Defense Health Agency, and I do a lot for the VA healthcare system. I write contracts. I see what the government is spending their money on, and I can tell you they have checks and balances for a reason. They do work, but sometimes slime balls get through, like Trump. I had a fire lit under me the second he was elected. And I have had every single kind of emotion come through me. Sadness, anger. I'm so confused. But I also have a ton of empathy for all of the people out there who are following him blindly. Because what is happening to the Trump followers is they are getting their information and it is incorrect. It is the wrong information. And so I dedicated myself when this started happening to inform my friends and family, the people I care about, the people I love, no matter what they say. And my grandparents have stopped me a couple times and they go, "We don't talk about politics in this household." And I said, "Grandma, now is the time. You talk about politics. You talk about what is right and what is wrong. And you talk about what my future is going to look like, what my daughter's future is going to look like. Because I am sure as hell not putting her in a school where she is going to be Bible thumping. She can believe in whoever she wants, but she is not going to tell her friends what they should believe. Because I would never do that. and I am angry. And what I want to know, and what my question for this board here is, when do we get the truth? When do our friends and our family and our loved ones get the truth? And you know who's going to give it to them? Everybody here. Everybody here. Start sharing the truthful information with them, whether they like it or not. If it affects them and you love them, share the information. If they're upset at you, they can thank you later. Peace out.
Hi, Tom Carter, 80921. Father, husband, teacher, engineer, veteran. And I have a question for Mr. Crank. He doesn't deserve representative. After the election and after the inauguration, President Trump came out and declared a national energy emergency. Said we needed to secure energy dominance. And he said, you know, we need to drill more gas. We need more nuclear. And nuclear is great, right? We can get clean energy. And that, you know, the state of Colorado just passed HB 251040, advancing nuclear as clean energy. And I've emailed Mr. Crank about this, and I get nothing but a form letter back. This is something that aligns our climate change goals, the things we need to accomplish to achieve economic justice and climate justice around the world. We can make a small difference here in our community. Mr. Crank doesn't give anything but a form email back. So forget answering the hard questions. When are you going to answer the questions that we are in alignment on and we have agreement on? How hard is that? One last thing before I go, I'd like to leave you with some thoughts from this is from a New York Times article called Hobson's Choice in 1952.
Wow.
73 years later, it's as relevant today as it was then. Whom do we hold answerable for the sufferance of dishonesty in the government? For the reckless waste of public monies? For the incompetence that wrecks the currency? We can bring to bar the dishonest men, yes, but we are told that men should no longer be held accountable for what they do, only as what they intend. To err is human, it absolves responsibility. Everywhere that is except on the sea. On the sea there is a tradition older than the traditions of the country itself and wiser in its age than this new custom. The tradition that goes with responsibility also goes authority and also accountability. It is cruel, this accountability of men, but the choice of that is to end the end the responsibility, and finally, as the cruelty is taught, an end to the confidence and trust in the men who lead. For men will no longer trust leaders who feel themselves beyond accountability for what they do. And when men lose confidence and trust in those who lead, order disintegrates into chaos and purposeful shifts into derelict relics.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, hello, my name is Mariah Lauer. I am in zip code 80905. And yes, I am a candidate for Colorado Springs City Council District 3, where we are right now. So I saw somebody with a sign back there that said, "We will be heard," and yes, we are angry. And so I don't have a question for Crank. I have a warning. We are angry and we are unapologetic about it. We're not going to be sorry for it, and we are coming right now to fight the forces of authoritarianism and oligarchy that are showing up right here in our city, that are showing up in our county, that are showing up in our state, and showing up nationally. And he is completely unprepared for what that's going to look like when we are embracing our anger, because it comes from our care for each other. It comes from being angry about injustice, and he is completely unprepared for what we are going to accomplish together.
Well, my name is Gloria Ana Martinez. I am a 7th generation Coloradan. I represent the Otterby family, and we are 10,000 strong in Colorado. With 4 Native American tribes and 1 Mexican tribe. I met this pendejo when he was running, and I asked him, and I went up to him down at the VFW, and his wife came running behind him, and so I told him, so would you get down there have no hair? I did get in trouble. So my son, who is, and don't tell anybody, he's the chief of staff at the National Guard, and he says everybody forgets the National Guard, so don't forget the National Guard. He's been deployed 3 times, so don't tell me he's a weekend warrior, because I'll beat you up. Because I've been there, let me tell you. I did 25 years at Fort Carson. I did DMWR. I was a whistleblower and got relieved of my duties, so I know exactly what you're going through. Exactly. So about a couple of years ago, I got pulled over and asked if I spoke English. What I said wasn't very nice either. So I got so angry, I called the governor. I went to Bennett's office. I went to the mayor. I went to the chief. I went to my bishop. At that time, I was teaching Catholic school. And I wanted to know who in the hell came up with that thing on the traffic ticket that you have to learn to speak English. And I told him, you have no clue who I am. My father's cousins are the Hericatas out of Rocky Ford. His cousin, who was Mexican, married into the Japanese family. So I got them. Then I got my beautiful daughter-in-law who's from Iowa, so I got them. Then I got my beautiful niece who's married, a black man from New York, so I got them. So I got everybody in my family. To include that I have a granddaughter, 2 granddaughters at CSU, I got 1 granddaughter at CU, and I got a grandson at KU, and they damn well better win Thursday. That's all I gotta say. But I'm gonna tell you, it's been the hardest thing for me as a Latina organizer for the Dem Party, because the Hispanics are very fearful right now, even though they're legal like me. They don't want to go to work. I've been depressed about it. I'm fearful because ICE was in my neighborhood, and I live over here at 80909, right by the hospital. So what the hell are they doing out there? I'm predominantly a white neighborhood. You know, unless they're illegal. Maybe they're Irish. Are they legal Irish today? Woo! Shame on them. No, but you guys, let you know, man, this is really a sad situation. We should all be united, and I'll tell you why. 53 years ago, I put my brother in the ground from Vietnam. There was no color that night when they gave us the news. The day I buried him, there was no party. There was nothing. I was an 18-year-old little girl screaming my lungs out, give me back my brother. Then I came to Fort Carson as a Vietnam bride to be told that there was a sign there at Sears that said no Mexicans and dogs allowed. And I've never given up. I'm always going to be an American. My grandfather said, "Tienes a votar gloria democracia, democracia." I say, Grandpa. And I always have. But I have really good friends that are Republicans, and we argue all the time, but they both know how I feel. So I'm going to ask all of you to look at each other from side to side and remember each other, because this is going to need. So when you see me, everybody knows I'm the lady that wears one kind of hat from one school, because I got to be a grandma to all 5 of them. Y'all know my long hair I can't cut, because I'm also the chief of my tribe. So thank you.
Well, I'm very impressed that you all have gotten answers from Craig, even if it was a form letter, because I've gotten nothing. Yeah, my name is Ellen, and I live in 80906. I haven't heard anyone here yet from 80906. Oh, there we go. I have many questions. I've helped people with their citizenship studying to, get their citizenship, and they're awesome people. But my question is not about that, because I don't want to put them in trouble, because I know they're very scared. My question relates to one of my former students is working for the National, let me get it right, Nuclear Security Admin in DC. And I happened to be talking to her mom when Doge walked into their office. And she's not only in the top security area, she's in the top security area. And so I said, well, are they going in there? because they keep track of all of our nuclear waste and our nuclear weapons. And she said, well, so far they're not going in. But the next day, they were. And they had to clear out of all of their offices. And how many of you have a security clearance? I'm just curious. Yeah. It's tough to get that security clearance. Very, yeah. Well, Musk and his boys, they didn't do anything. Nothing. But they went in with their own servers, and apparently there's no information on what they've taken out of there, which is very concerning because we know that our current president is very tight with some of our... Okay. Yeah, well, I don't want to say it's like Voldemort, you know. But it is concerning to me, and I would want to know, where is this information going? Now that you have it on your servers. It makes Snowden look like small potatoes. So my question is there a way to track where all of this information has gone, and why aren't these people being prosecuted? Because if I was to walk into an office without any top security clearance, I wouldn't be there long. Yeah, I would be arrested, and probably worse. So I would like some follow-up on what's going to happen with all of this information. Thank you.
My name is John Mickus, and Mr. Crank, I am one of your constituents. I live in 80132. And one of the things that is causing me the most distress, amongst many of the things that are happening at the federal level, is the assault on public education. And that has motivated me, like a lot of others in this room, to run for public office. I am a candidate for the Colorado State Treasurer, which is an election in 2026. And one of the reasons I'm running is because I firmly believe that we have to come up with a better framework for public finance for education in Colorado. And I'm gonna say one thing that is particularly problematic with respect to that, and that is Tabor. Okay? In its 30 years since its passage, Tabor has morphed into something that's unrecognizable, and it's wreaking havoc on state finances. And there's got to be a better way, and I'm committed to using the bully pulpit of the Treasurer's Office to advocate for that better way to public finance education. So, Mr. Crank, you have motivated me, and I hope that in the end some good will come of this. But I will remain hopeful. Thank you all.
I have crippling social anxiety, so I apologize ahead of time. My name's Daniel, 80923. It's up on the north end of town. I'm an oncology nurse, and I'm going to keep my question just simple. I work at the hospital, and we treat lots of patients who are on Medicare and Medicaid. And I think it's very important that we just kind of emphasize how damaging this resolution on Friday that was passed was. But not only are all my patients not going to be able to afford their medications and get their nutrition drinks that they need through their insurance if these cuts continue to happen the way they are, but you know, the hospitals are going to have lots of issues too, because they can't turn patients away. If a patient can't get care, you know, in their primary clinic or with their oncologist, they're going to end up in the ER, and the ER won't turn them away. So they're just going to continue to, unfortunately, you know, suffer, and hospitals are going to suffer too. And it's, you know, it's very important that we keep these things running for our patients. And I just want to say thank you to everyone that showed up tonight, because you guys gave me the courage to even stand up here.
This is not my thing, but I felt compelled to say this. My name's Dawn, and I'm 80921. And to piggyback on what he said, My husband's a physician. I'm a former medical social worker. And one of the best things that we've done in recent years is the Affordable Care Act. And before the Affordable Care Act, we had patients that couldn't get into primary caregivers. They, their child would have an asthma attack, and they'd have to take them to the ER. That was the only option. Well, since the Affordable Care Act, we have people now that can get into primary caregivers, right? They can go on Colorado Health Exchange, they can get affordable insurance, they can get medication coverage, and now we have people that can see their primary caregiver, can see their pediatrician, and then the ER is left open for people who have really trauma, right? Who need the emergency rooms. So part of this onslaught not only is Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, but the Affordable Care Act is going to be on the chopping block as well. Our healthcare system is not perfect in this country, by far, but I don't think you just cut something and get rid of it. You improve it, you allow further access for people, not less access. So that's all I have to say.
All right, we're towards the end of the night. I want to encourage any of you who have some lingering questions. Maybe you thought, oh, I don't know if I have the courage, or I'm an introvert, or whatever that might be. This is your chance. All right.
I am also an introvert and I hate public speaking. My name is Jennifer. I live in 80919. I did 35 years in federal contracting, 12 years in the Air Force, and then in industry. And all the cuts that Elon Musk has been posting for savings in federal contracts, he has about $22 billion worth. Yes. And I didn't see any of his on that cut list. There's no fraud and waste in his contracts. And the USAID contracts that he cut, there was one with one cap for 3 different companies, and they all shared that cap. He listed it 3 times. No mistakes there. Right. They don't know what they're doing. Right. So my question is, are you going to check his math?
My name's Beth, 80920. I've been a nurse for over 20 years. I have a daughter with type 1 diabetes, so 504 programs are extremely important to us. Barbara Davis Center is the 4th largest pediatric diabetes center in the entire United States and does a huge amount of research into diabetes. They're going to lose tons of NIH grants, which have improved the lives of countless children in our state. Also, 34% of their kids are on Medicaid. This is going to have a huge impact on our children throughout the entire state of Colorado, and a lot of our kids here in Colorado Springs go up there. So my question to you is, how are you actually a party of pro-life?
Last call. Anyone else? All right, up.
I don't have a question, but there are 3 open house seats coming up, 2 in Florida, 1 in New York. Yes. They could use your support, your dollars, your funding, your money. If we get those seats, we might be able to
have no more takers. We are past 8 p.m., which is when this event's supposed to go through. Another heads up, Bernie and AOC are gonna be speaking in Colorado this Friday. Yeah, so carpool. I asked for the half day off, like the chance to hear from I think two of our topmost leaders in this moment in America is really, really special. So if you're able to take advantage of that. We also had another shout out, Senator Pete Lee. Are you still here? All right. Thank you for joining us. Yes. All right, well, let's adjourn our meeting tonight. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As we said, what you do matters. Thank you. See you at the next one, and keep showing up. Thank you.